Once you've created the digital notebook, it's now time for you to deliver it to your students. So I'm going to show you what I do and then give you another option that might work for you. So what I do is I take my notebook and I divide it into sections. So you can see here I have these red tabs that tell me where a section ends and a new one begins. And here it says end of starter notebook. So once I've created my sections, I take the first section, which here is 8 slides, and I select them all and I say make a copy of selected slides. What this does is it gets the kids a starter notebook that they can copy and they can share with me to begin the whole process. After I select the slides and I make a copy, then now I have my starter notebook, which is the first 8 slides. Another way to do it would be for students to create their own blank slideshow and share that with you. And then you can pass out the slides digitally using the software that we use. So that's your choice. I prefer doing it this way because once the students get it, they can start working on it while I check to make sure that they've actually shared it correctly with me, and I can solve those problems before I start sending out any slides. Because if they haven't shared it with you correctly, the slides won't get to them. So I like to make sure that that's taken care of before I start passing slides out to them. Now that I have this starter notebook, I'm going to show you how I get it to them. In our district, we use Canvas. Probably other LMSs, this will work the same way, but I use Canvas. You could probably use Google Classroom as well. And what I do is I get a share link from my starter notebook and I come to my Canvas and I set up this assignment. It's called Digital Notebook Setup, and in it I share that link right here. This is a student starter notebook, and I just have that as a link now. So when they go into it, all they have to do is open that link and there's that starter notebook. I also give them directions. We copy the entire presentation and we rename it. They'll go ahead and they'll say file, make a copy of the entire presentation. And I have a specific way of naming it. That's going to be up to you, but my specific way of naming it includes having the period number first. You can see up here it says period number, and I'll show you why that's important later. Period number first, and then their first and last name, and then I have this one's my computer science notebook, so I say CS notebook on the end. Once they have created their own version of it and they named it correctly, then they can go ahead and they can share it with you. Now, the only thing I want you to be sure of is that you tell your students to make sure that you have editing rights when they share it with you. That way you can grade it. When things are wrong, you can make some annotations in it, especially on the speaker notes. That's where I like to add mine. So you created your starter notebook, you share the link to it, and you have students create a copy of it and share it with you with editing rights. That's how I get my students the notebook they need, and that's how we get started. And then while they're starting to work, what I will do is I'm going to go into my Google Drive and show you how I organize it. So once they've shared it with me, what I do is I take them and I organize them into their own folders. Putting them in folders is going to be extremely helpful for when you want to deliver slides. Now, I separate mine by periods because I deliver my slides during class. So therefore, if I'm in period 1, I only want period 1 to get the slides, and I will get the other periods their slides whenever they reach that point. That's why I have them, when they name it, they put their period number in front of it so I can organize it really super easily. So I've created a folder for each period, and what I'll just do is when I get them shared with me, I just drag them and drop them right into these folders, and they're organized and they're ready for passing out. That is how I get my notebooks to my students. If you use different LMS, I'm sure it could work the same way. Also, there's the option of having them create a slideshow that is blank, and then you pass out the first notebook pages. But making sure that in both situations, these students share it with you and they turn the editing setting on. All right, so that concludes my video on how to set up the notebook for the students. Next video will be about how to get slides to students after they already have their notebook. So stay tuned.